In Shonen, we always hear about the hero's journey. It's an narrative structure that almost all of these stories should follow to some degree. And it goes as follows. A hero ventures forth from a world of the common day into a region of the supernatural. Fabulous forces are there encountered, and a decisive victory is won. The hero comes back from his mysterious adventure, the power to bestow boon on his fellow man. There are plenty of videos going around going into depth about how this structure can apply to the hero of a given shonen protagonist. While this is an interesting topic in itself, it's always bothered me when these stories never finish the structure. Usually the characters simply beat the big bad and the story ends, or another one pops up, another big bad. And if that's the case, we're stuck in this constant cannibalistic loop of encounter and victory. Where is my satisfying ending? Where our protagonist settles down, although his journey has ended, I can rest knowing that the world they inhabit still moves forward in serenity. But we can see what the world would be like, and we have, just not in their own story. This video is about the end of the hero's journey. Now, Joseph Campbell, he's a bit of a head case. His argument is that this structure, the hero's journey, could be applied to every story that ever has or will be created. He discusses this in his book, The Hero of a Thousand Faces, where he talks about his writing structure, not as a writing structure, but as a self-proclaimed mono-myth. The structure doesn't work very well when it's used as a structure to write a narrative, but functions better as an analytical tool to analyze stories. The graphic on screen shows the entire hero's journey. Stories tend to give up, or are at least lacking, in the final 3 sections of this structure. Often the story simply throws out a montage or summary in the ending. Naruto spends 600 plus episodes building to its climax, only to end the show in 2 episodes. According to the hero's journey structure, it should be a solid quarter of the content, and 600 episodes to 2 episodes doesn't really add up there. Just look at JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, where we can see actively recurring main characters finishing off their storylines in other stories. And then a character came to mind. A character that fulfilled this role in Naruto, ending his own hero's journey and returning to the status quo to sow his seeds for the future. I'm of course talking about Jiraiya the Galad. Now, if we were to use Joseph Campbell's understanding or restrictions to literature and only use his structure of the hero's journey, this would be what Jiraiya's story would sound like. The ordinary world. Jiraiya starts off this journey as a mischievous and curious ninja in the Hidden Leaf village. The call to adventure. Jiraiya receives a call to adventure when he begins training under Hiruzen Sarutobi, the 3rd Hokage, and later becomes one of the 3 legendary Sannin, along with Tsunade and Orochimaru. The refusal to call. Initially, Jiraiya isn't always serious about his training and often prefers going around and peeping on women. He also struggles with his decision to pursue a path of true wisdom and power. He finds mentorship in the form of a great toad sage. Crossing the threshold, he joins the 3rd Shinobi World War. Tests, allies, and enemies. Jiraiya, along with his squad, Tsunade and Orochimaru, gain the title of the 3 legendary Sannin after a fierce battle with Hanzo of the Salamander in the hidden village of the Rain. This battle solidified their reputations as some of the most powerful ninja of their time. Approach to the upmost cave. Hanzo's ruthlessness and tactics and the suffering of the hidden Rain village deeply impacted Jiraiya, helping him gain perspective on peace and conflict. The ordeal. Orochimaru's betrayal deeply impacted Jiraiya, revealing itself during the latter part of the Shinobi 3rd World War through Orochimaru's inhumane experiments of power and immortality. When Jiraiya, Tsunade, and the 3rd Hokage discovered these experiments, Orochimaru rejected Jiraiya's pleas to return to the village and escaped. His betrayal haunted Jiraiya, fueling his determination to stop Orochimaru's plans and influencing his commitment to mentoring the future generations to prevent a similar downfall, as seen with his guidance of Naruto and Nagato. Reward: seizing the sword. Jiraiya gains a renewed sense of purpose and understanding. His experiences and the relationship he builds, especially with Nagato, Yahiko, and Conan, provide him with valuable insights into the nature of peace and conflict. The road back, training Nagato and the rest of the kids. Resurrection, departing from the house he shared with the children, leaving them with their lessons that they can use to defend themselves. Returning with the elixir, his return to the hidden leaf. Although I've critiqued Naruto for its constant flashbacks in the past, there's a noteworthy exception when it comes to Jiraiya. Sure, his backstory is just explained through flashbacks, but it doesn't feel like a backstory. Unlike many of the characters that we have constant flashbacks for in Naruto, we have been around Jiraiya for almost the entirety of this story. He's a character that we have already gotten to know. So these flashbacks aren't actually introducing us to Jiraiya, but instead expanding upon the pre-established character that we already have gotten to know. This is when we meet Jiraiya towards the end of his journey, or even after.
The final chapter.
The idea that this story and all others are told in the same way is idiotic and foolish. And shonen stories in particular, it's very easy to align the hero's journey to your story, as most of them do suffer from the same structures and narrative mistakes. It's seemingly a great category for it to thrive. Whatever pointy-haired boy you like the best is most likely going to follow this journey, mainly because most of them have the same character, and they're built this way to support the structure of the story, which is just criminal. There is no excuse to have a boring main character. There just isn't. The hero's journey doesn't work, and it doesn't apply to every story. And here's an anime example. Spike Spiegel's journey in Cowboy Bebop. A lack of a transformation. Spike Spiegel is the main protagonist of Cowboy Bebop, and he doesn't go any significant personal transformation. Unlike the typical hero's journey, where the hero emerges fundamentally changed, Spike remains largely the same person throughout the series. His core character traits and motivations and outlook on life are established early and do not change towards the end of the story. A focus on survival and confrontation. Spike's narrative is driven more by his need to survive and comfort than his past or quest for self-improvement or enlightenment. His encounters are deeply rooted in his past as a former member of the Red Dragon Syndicate and his unresolved relationship with his Mrs. and Vicious. His tragic fate. The hero's journey demands the hero returns with new wisdom or a boon that he can use to benefit his community. In contrast, Cowboy Bebop concludes with Spike's ambiguous and tragic fate, his death. There's no return to the ordinary world or community that benefits from his journey. The hero's journey is a circular, emphasizing a return to the starting point. Spike's story is more of a linear progression towards an inevitable conclusion. With his path, his journey ends without a sense of renewal or a completion of the cycle. The series ends on a note of unresolved infinality, with Spike's death and a slumber closure rather than a triumphant return. Overall, Spike Spiegel's arc in Cowboy Bebop diverges significantly from the hero's journey due to this static character development focused on the past confrontations rather than his future growth and the ambiguous tragic end of his story. This divergence underscores the unique narrative style of Cowboy Bebop and should not be classified as having the same story structure as every story in existence. See, Campbell has this idea of the hero. However, within his structure, the hero doesn't even have to be a good guy. The only necessary element to the character is his naivety. This makes it easy to explain the world to the viewer. And in the plot of a shonen, of these complicated shows, using this structure would act as a decent guideline for someone writing their hero's story, but should never be followed to the T, but instead use it for the sake of the pacing of your story, to let you know when certain events might make sense to happen. And this is being accepted globally. The hero's journey is not the structure to end all structures in narrative. It just isn't. It's been proven as such, but it's certainly an incredibly helpful tool.